under cold Midwest skies. Something lurks through the dark. From the rolling hills to the flatlands, they move through the fields. They are Cryptids of the Corn.
Hi, I'm Justin.
And I'm Jay.
And this is Cryptids of the Corn. If you hear other breathing, don't pay attention to it. So this is kind of a special episode. This is going to be our first, paranormal episode. Everything else we've done is cryptids or about our own Bigfoot research, which we do have dates. We'll update you guys on dates. We're doing stuff in Michigan and stuff like that. So there's actually 3 people sitting around one mic here. And we'd like to welcome our good friend Kyle. Kyle, say hi.
Howdy, howdy.
So this is Kyle. I've known Kyle forever. We were in each other's weddings.
Mm-hmm. You wore a top hat in mine.
I did. And I had a flask that was a fish. No joke.
I'm not surprised.
No joke there. So today's episode is Shadow People. I've actually had an encounter. I believe Kyle has had an encounter. That's why he's here. I don't know his story very well, so it'll be kind of the first time I'm here. I know a little bit, but... So first we're just going to kind of talk about what these things are. Because there are... As far as I could find, they're relatively... True shadow people are relatively a new phenomenon. Mm-hmm. The earliest that I could find, with my limited research, so please nobody gut me, was the 40s and the 50s.
Like recorded?
Yeah.
Okay.
You could point at it and be like, okay, that's a shadow person. You know, not... you got stuff like old hag syndrome, which we'll talk about. Mm-hmm. You got a lot of, what we're going to talk about later, but sleep paralysis stuff. There's a big difference between sleep paralysis and shadow people. Even though they can look very similar, there's a lot of rules that are a little different. So we're just going to do, what are the shadow people? Or, it's a little description. A shadow person, also known as a shadow figure, shadow being, or black mass, is a particular patch of shadow that is viewed as living. Most of the time, a hominid figure, so kind of humanoid in shape, interacts as a presence or a spirit or an entity, and they're believed to be paranormal or supernatural. So that's just, there's little ways you can split hairs there. Most stuff that are paranormal are supernatural.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think everything that's supernatural is paranormal. Maybe. I think that's kind of the little split. With also describing these things, we'll get into our stories, but most of the time it's a very hard thing to describe because it's blacker than black. I'll tell my story in a minute, and that'll help explain that. But they're very...
It's like looking into a void.
Yeah, it's a void. It's like a voided mass. It's not like... When people say black, they don't mean I got a little Mothman doll right there. The people at home can't see it. But that's black is black. But these things are like Kyle said.
Closing your eyes in the middle of the night and seeing the back of your eyelids.
Yeah, it's just void. They're not dark. There's just nothing,
Like the inside of a coffin on a moonless night.
There you go. Jay's getting really poetic.
Yeah. That was from Beverly Hills Ninja.
Is it really?
Yeah, Chris Farley said it.
Oh,
Chris Farley.
Not as poetic.
He might be a shadow person now.
Oh, he could be.
He could be. I don't think so.
That'd be a big shadow person.
We'll get into our thoughts about it later. I'm the worst. You'll hear, if you listen to the episodes, I jump around so bad. That's why I like having my little script in front of me. Mm-hmm. I'd be like, no, that's later. Alright. So, everybody at home, I'm just trying to think what else to say before I get into it. I think that pretty much is it. We're going to talk about sleep paralysis later, old hag syndrome. Sorry, everybody at home. My printer wouldn't work this morning, so the script is on my laptop, so I'm like scrolling.
Well, at least you weren't shuffling your papers around and dropping on them.
I think that sounds better.
Yeah.
I like that sound.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So my story, and I was if anybody at home remembers my Bigfoot story, or my Bigfoot stories, it's kind of over a summer or two. This was the year after that. So we had all kinds of strange stuff happen at that property. Bigfoot stuff had ended now because Dad shot at it. This stuff was a little different. But it's hard to explain. All my siblings' rooms are on the same hallway upstairs, and we kind of had two houses that were smashed together. Mm-hmm. So my parents were like really far away in the same house, just really far away. It was a huge house. One of my brothers, and I won't name him, so I don't embarrass them either way, because you guys, if you know my 2 or 3 brothers, you can go and harass them and see if you can figure out which one it was. But one of my brothers comes in at night. This is like 11:30. I am 17 at the time, so I get all my siblings ready for school in the morning, and I take everybody to school. That's just what I do. It's my job. I almost said his name. I'm not good at editing yet, so if I slip, I'm sorry to which brother this is. Put your names in. I didn't ask permission. But, Mr. Anglin.
There you go. Good cover.
They're all Mr. Anglins. So, once again, 17 years old. This is like 11:30 at night. It's not quite midnight. It's pretty late, but not midnight yet. So in my room, this is important for the story later, I had a ball python, a couple lizards, and a lot of fish. Fluffy was my ball python, and it was the only snake I've ever had that my mom would completely handle. She'd take it out of the tank, and she'd feed it. Like, Fluffy was as sweet as a snake could come. She just never...
She was a saint.
Yeah. She was. I mean, she'd just sit there. She just was really calm. She only ever bit me once, and it's because I dropped the lid on her tail.
Ah.
And
so you deserved it.
yeah, I mean, it was...
Justified homicide.
Yeah. Yeah. And she immediately let go. She barely drew blood. But she was a decent-sized ball python at that point. She's probably about 4 foot. Which is really topping out length, and then they start getting fat.
Rounder, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that just filler for background stuff. So my brother comes in. He wakes me up. I'm like, yeah. He's like, can I sleep in here tonight? And keep in mind, I got a little twin bed, and I'm 17, and his brother is they're both only a little younger than me, so he is, a teenager, and a very tough guy. And I'm like, yeah, we gotta sleep on the floor. Like, I don't know. So I had 2 little windows. One was like a little octagon window, and that's where he went and laid by, and the other was just a normal little window that was kind of high up. The house was really weirdly shaped. Mm-hmm. So he goes and lays down, and I lay facing the wall, and he pokes me in the shoulder. I'm like, okay, quit it, Mm-hmm. I'm a little annoyed, but I'm really tired. And then he does it again. I'm like, okay, you gotta quit it. Like, seriously, we gotta go to bed. Like, I gotta get up early. I gotta make breakfast. I was making everybody breakfast and getting everybody. I'm like, I got stuff I gotta do. And this happens probably about 4 times. And then the last time, you ever had your mom pinch your shoulder? Like that. Okay.
Like a Vulcan death grip.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
okay.
where your mom gets both fingers on both sides and, like, pinches that. What's that muscle called?
Your
trap.
Trap, yeah.
So he did that to me. Now I turn around, like, stop it. Like, I said, man, he is perfectly asleep, like, 10 foot away from me. And there's just this mass. Mm-hmm. And it's just kind of there, looking over me. And my fish were going nuts. My lizards were going nuts. And Fluffy was striking the glass so hard at this thing. She was breaking all of her teeth out. We had to take her somewhere because she had infections because she broke all of her teeth. And she's just hammering the glass. At this thing. And then slowly, backed up. It didn't like walk. It just kind of hovered back up and then went down an angle into the garage, like the floor below me. I was on the second floor. I freaked out. Obviously, I woke Luke up. Oh, there you go. Said his name. I went and got Mom and Dad. We left. So a couple days later, we had a spiritual leader come out and pray over the house. And I think you know the rest of the story, Kyle.
I think so.
And she came and she prayed and she's like, yeah, I can feel. So half the house we got from somebody, and we moved an entire house and just slammed these two houses together.
Oh, okay.
So half the house was like 125 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And she's praying over the house, and we found other weird stuff in the house. But she's praying over the house, and she's like, yeah, she's like, I can feel it. I can feel something. And Dad's like, okay. And then she touches a spot on the wall in one of the rooms we always ran through. Nobody did anything in this room. It was so weird. Hindsight's 20/20. Nobody did anything in this room ever.
Mm-hmm.
And she touches the wall, and she's like, to my dad, she's like, Bill, you got to open this wall. And Dad didn't question her. He went out, got a hammer, busted a hole in the wall, and he pulled out this knife that was probably about 1.5 feet long that had a smiling serpent as the handle.
Oh, wow.
He went and like, the person's like, you need to destroy it, now. So he went right in, burned it, covered it, just burned it. And he had a lot of trouble burning this thing. It was really weird how much gasoline it took to burn a knife. But that's the end of that kind of the shadow person part of that story. There was other paranormal stuff, the footsteps and stuff,
Wasn't there something about baby shoes?
Not with that story.
Okay, that was a different story. Okay.
Yeah. And there was, like I said, and we're going to kind of space out some of my stories. The more I do this kind of stuff, the more I'm like, I guess now that's why I'm scarred. You block out a lot until you start talking about it, and you're like, a lot happened.
Well, you never, any history on that knife or anything, or anything about it?
Yes.
Is it worth telling?
No, I'm not allowed.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
The rest of that, so we did actually find out stuff about that, and I'll tell you off the air.
Okay.
But
now, is this in the house that was already there? Part of the house that was already there?
There was a house we moved
or the house
there.
you moved there?
Yeah, the old house we moved there.
Oh, so you moved an old house to this location?
Yeah, we picked up an old house off the foundation.
Okay.
Attached it to the other one.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so that was in that house. And then my cousin Avery, he doesn't care about sure. He's seen it a couple times. My Uncle Rob's seen it a couple times. In between the big one and them finding that knife was a couple days. They were living with us at the time.
And they saw the shadow?
Yeah, they saw it a couple times. And it was always in the garage.
Yeah.
Which was weird because the garage is part of the new house we built. But all the kids' beds were above the garage. So whatever it was. Do
you think it was attached to the house, or do you?
I think it was attached to the house.
Not the ground.
Not the ground, because there was a lot of stuff that happened with that house. I don't know. The ground had weird stuff too. I mean, it matters. It matters how much you want to loop into one thing, like because we had the Sasquatch out there too.
Right. Yeah.
So are the shadow people and the Sasquatch? In my experience, are they both symptoms of the same thing from the ground or from the house, or are they just, was it a coincidence? And I tend to think personally it was a coincidence. I don't think, well, that just matters what you think Sasquatch is, I guess. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I know Hardin County as a whole, Hardin County's been basically inhabited for
Ever.
1,000 years, 1,500 years. Before us, it was the Indians, and there's burial mounds here in Hardin County. There's, I got a property that it's got probably 1,500, we found 1,500 arrowheads.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, wow.
different kinds of tools.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, out there we found an axe head. I have a whole thing of beads, and I can't tell you how many knives and arrowheads.
So that's why I was asking if it was part of the ground or if it was the house itself, just because there's so much attached here in Hardin County that...
So, like, see, that's what I don't know. I think it was the house, personally, and that'll probably be a whole episode in itself later on about some other stuff that gets more into, like, excuse me.
Demonology.
Yeah. I'm a religious person. I'm a Christian. Kyle is too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for you.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Jay has his own set of beliefs.
I would say it aligns with Christianity.
Yeah,
I'm definitely religious. I'm definitely a believer in God.
And so that's where I tend to go with this stuff is... We'll get about the shadow people later, because I got some thoughts. All right.
Thoughts about shadow people?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, well,
So we're going to take a break real quick.
Okay.
When we get back, we'll do Kyle's story. All right, we'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back. Now we're going to do Kyle's story. So, Kyle, as long as you feel good, please share.
All right. So let's go back 10 years. I don't want to get too personal with it, but...
You don't have to. It's your...
I understand. So, my mother-in-law, my now mother-in-law, or what she would have been my mother-in-law, my wife, then girlfriend, her mom had terminal lung cancer. Going back, she fought it for about 18 months, and then ultimately, unfortunately, she succumbed to it. You know, that's part of life, unfortunately. Well, she was in Lund Memorial Hospital. That's where she was at for her last days. My wife stayed with her, and she stayed till about 5 o'clock in the morning that day. When she passed, she was still living, and the wife walked out. There's just something that told her, hey, you need to go. Don't know why, don't know how, you need to go. So she got up and told her mom goodbye. I'll see you later. Walked down the stairs, or went down the elevator, got out the door, and my wife swears, she's like, this is the loudest crack I've ever heard. Boom. It was a boom is what it was. And so she went on her way, but she thought in the back of her head, I just need to go home, not go back up there, because she knew something happened. But this is besides the point. I'm leading up to my story here. So wife gets home, she gets in the shower, the hospital calls, tells her dad, hey, your wife has passed. So my wife, of course, then girlfriend, she calls me. And, for me, I hate to say it, when it's something extremely critical like that, I do not wake up. And like I said, this is 6 o'clock in the morning. So I wake up to about 50 missed calls, about 15 text messages, and then I finally hear the call go off. Hey, my mom died. Get over here. And so I got ready and got around. So where I used to live is on a township road called Township Road 80 and 115, County Road 115. So when you go to Lima, you have to go up 1 mile and then straight west on 701. And then 701 will take you to 309, which will take you to Lima to the hospital, because that's where she still was at. So I am getting around, getting up, and going, and I get in the car, get up 701. I'm just hauling ass. I'm hauling butt. And going about 70, 75 miles an hour, because, this is critical. Not to say anything, but... So I get down to my grandparents' old house, give or take about a quarter mile. And off the side of the road is this black, just blacker than night. it looks like a cat, and with glowing yellow eyes. I mean, just black. And it was something that it was right off the it was right on the berm. It wasn't on the road itself. It was right on the berm. And it was one of those things where you see it 300 feet ahead of you, and you just kind of turn your head, and you're, like I said, I'm still going 70 miles an hour. And I cannot help but to actually train my eyes as I'm going past, looking at it, and just going and turning my head as I'm just blaring by. And then it turns around and either walks off or goes, I don't notice. So we get to the hospital, we take care of that, and we had the funeral, everything else, everything goes back to not relatively normal, but it just like that. But that is one of the things I have never forgot about that day. I mean, that day there's a lot I will never forget.
Mm-hmm.
But that was something, I'll be honest with you, cannot explain. It almost looked like a panther or a big cat. I mean, this thing sat 3 foot, just sitting. I mean, I don't think it was a cat. And I kind of put a connotation on it because of the significance of the day and what happened during that day.
Yeah.
That it wasn't something that was natural. I mean, I know there's big cats in Ohio. I know there has been in the past. But this
was otherworldly.
This was different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this was a sign, something like that.
You said you actually had eyes, like you could see glow.
Let's just say this. I knew it was looking at me.
Okay, so you didn't.
I don't necessarily know if it had eyes,
but you feel that.
You could definitely tell. When you get in the back of your head, you could see.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, you can feel it.
You without even looking.
That's biological.
Your sixth sense.
Your sixth sense.
Yeah.
And when it turns its head to watch you go by, like I said, this thing was black. You couldn't tell features on it. You couldn't, but it looked like a cat almost. I mean, like a big panther, puma, whatever you want to call it. But like I said, it was something that, how should I say it? You don't necessarily believe it until you see it.
Yeah,
right, yeah.
That's we work in the field of Bigfoot, so
Yeah.
so you don't it's impossible to explain unless you witnessed it.
Yeah,
Experienced it.
And like I said, this has been my now mother-in-law. She would have passed. It'd be 10 years next August. So this has been 9 years ago. And I will forever remember that, I guess. That part of that day, specifically. Like I said, going 70, 75 miles an hour in a rink-a-dink car and having something off the side of the road when you're heading west and it's on the eastbound lane on the left-hand side, and you just you just watch it with your head and just... there was no time to stop. If I could have stopped, I would. But then again, it wouldn't have happened, probably.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, you said kind of... So I didn't know the story.
No, you're fine.
So it's not... do you think it was a shadow person, or it was more animal, like, in shape? And just in shape?
It was more animal in shape, but it's still...
I've never heard... So I listen to a lot of this stuff. I've done a lot of... I've never heard of a shadow animal.
I've heard of them.
Not nearly as common, for sure. But I have heard... You know what the black shuck is?
I'm not.
So, do you think it was kind of canid? Could it be canid in shape?
It maybe have been. Possibly.
Yeah, that's just, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but and I don't know the black shuck story. It's the black dog. And it matters what culture you are a part of, but Black Shuck is specifically Irish, I believe. It may be Scottish. Don't nobody crucify me over that. It's a European thing, but one of the pieces of lore with it is it's seen when you're super emotional, and it's there to kind of there's bad black dog stories and there's good black dog stories. A lot of the times they're not there to do anything. They're more there to protect you and comfort you in times of great need. The Black Shuck was often seen with lone travelers when they were getting mugged. This giant black dog thing would come out, scare the muggers, and then it'd just keep on going. It didn't want nothing to do with the travelers, but it just didn't like, so that's what I kind of got the vibe of that. You know, kind of, it's obviously an extremely emotional time for you on a very important day.
Yeah.
And it's just almost this sign to just be like, now, when you seen it, what did you feel? Any sense of dread or any sense of comfort?
Not necessarily. It was more of a change.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is, and don't get me wrong, I had been with my wife for 11 months, kind of deal. And it still has. It's affected her a lot more than it has me.
Loss of a mother.
Yeah, loss of a mother. You know, it's going to reverberate throughout your life. And I hate to say that, but it will.
And in the way, sorry.
No, go ahead.
The way she lost her mother too.
Yes.
There's one thing of a natural old age death, or a natural thing versus cancer.
Yeah.
I mean, I've experienced cancer in my family several times.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord, I have not experienced a loss due to cancer. As a knock on wood and all that, praise be. But it's a horrible death.
It is. It really is.
I was in the cancer ward all the time, and it's just it's a rough way to die.
Yeah,
it is.
And there's two ways you can go about it. Not to get too personal, and hopefully, Caitlin, if you're listening to this, do not kill me. My wife, she lost both parents to cancer. Her mom at 19, her dad at 25, 26. So, her mom fought it, her dad did not. And there's two ways you can go with that treatment process. With terminal.
Right.
You can either extend your life or let the natural process be.
Right.
So we've experienced both sides of that. But in going back to that day, like I said, it was neither dread nor, I don't necessarily, it might have been comfort maybe.
I mean, you don't have to. It's your experience. It's not.
It was more like there's a change. There's, what was is never going to be again. And this is your new reality.
I'll have to so you feel it was more animal shape and then people shape, or what? I'm just asking.
No. You're absolutely fine. I think it was more animal shaped.
Yeah.
No, don't get me wrong. I've got another story where it was definitely a person or humanoid.
And we'll have Kyle back on for that.
Yes. That's a different story. And then any other ghost stories I've got that I've had happen, we'll circle back. We're going to milk Kyle for a while for episodes. Kyle's had a lot, like I've had a lot. Not as much as you, but
but I grew up in a horrible, horrible house. Not because of anything in my family. I have a great family.
The structure was haunted.
Yeah. The literal house.
The property had some issues it was going through.
Yeah.
It was very moody.
Yeah.
I've had two experiences, but very minor. That's it.
I'll trade you. My mom came in my room. This is last year. My mom came to my room at night and freaked me out. And I didn't sleep again for like 2 months, like at night,
Mm-hmm.
because of the shadow people stuff. It just was like,
Mm-hmm.
it just triggers that thing in your brain.
Right. Your fight or flight.
Kyle, thank you for sharing that story.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm not an expert, so I don't know what to call that. Like, I kind of get, because the extreme importance of that day.
Yeah.
That's kind of black doggy. Like that.
But let me, like you said, let me reemphasize how black.
Yeah, it was the void.
It was absence of light.
And see, that's, I don't know if the black dog's ever been seen quite like in that context.
Mm-hmm. But like you said, it sat on all fours, or it might have stood. I'm going to say, like you said, it looked like a legitimate panther. If you see a panther in Ohio, of all places, you're going to be scratching your head and say, what in the world?
Right, yeah.
But, and that's why I think it's more supernatural than anything. But
I mean, it sounds definitely supernatural. It's just kind of, I guess, not. I mean, it's supernatural. It doesn't go in a box. And just my brain is just trying to put it in a box. It's one of these categories. Because it's kind of like, it's very shadow person-y.
Yes.
With especially the color, or not the lack of color, I guess.
Right, yeah.
The voidness. And it's also it kind of reminds me of a couple different things, but it's shadow person and a little bit of the black dog. And it's more the black dog for me for just the day, the importance. You know, that's when a lot of times they're seen as super emotional times. Sometimes they're comforters. Sometimes they're the agitators. Like, matters where you're at in the world. But thank you for sharing that story, Kyle. Yeah, that's a creepy one. It's just, I mean, it matters how you want to take it.
Right, yeah.
And that's just the thing. It's something that's hard to wrap your mind around.
Exactly, that's where I'm at right now.
Because it just, I mean, from where we're at right now to where it happens, only 4 miles if that. And I could take you to the exact spot right now and where it was. Sitting off the side of the road on the berm. And just, it's something that I don't ever forget.
Right, oh yeah. You won't, or I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
I wouldn't either.
But, like I said, I've got other stories. I've got not to get sidetracked, I've got another shadow person story in the future. And a couple ghost stories, which that will be, you'll have to sit on your hands on that one.
Okay.
I know at least remember the one really well.
The teddy bear?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think shadow people are?
Wait, don't cut ahead.
Cutting ahead.
Yeah. I'm gonna go over one more thing before we get into that stuff.
Okay, we're
sticking
to the script.
Yeah, there's a big chunk of it before we get into that.
Okay.
One second, I'm typing. I just was typing something.
Yeah,
that Kyle made me think of.
No, you're fine. You're absolutely okay.
So, before we get in to the meat and potatoes about this stuff, you know, what we think they are, some of the options, some of the possibilities, and I don't know, there's no one size fits all for this stuff.
No.
Because so I'm about to talk about sleep paralysis.
Okay.
A lot of shadow people stories, I fully believe, are 100% sleep paralysis.
Yes.
And we'll get into the one difference. To tell if you're having a sleep paralysis shadow person, or if you're not having a sleep paralysis shadow person, it could, if it's something else. And there's a super easy way to tell. But I'm just going to read this little blurb, word for word, about shadow people. I got it from the medical journal. Sleep paralysis is a normal part of REM sleep. So we have this built into our biology, so we don't roll off a cliff and die when we're asleep. So when you get into deep sleep, your body locks. So it's just what we do. Some of us roll in our sleep. I do, but that's in lighter levels of sleep. When you're in true REM, you're out. However, it's considered to be a disorder. So this is when it's not the normal part that occurs when you're in REM sleep, but you're awake. So there's a whole big blurb. I'm not going to read everything word for word. I just wanted to make sure I got all the right things.
Right.
So basically, you're paralyzed, but your eyes are open, and you're physically awake.
You're physically awake, but you kind of are hallucinating.
Yep. Then that's the next part, is you start actively dreaming or hallucinating. When your eyes are open, it's hallucinating. And there's a couple ones. So this is kind of the weird thing when you get into this stuff. There's 2 or 3 really common themes. One is alien abduction. You see beings standing over you. They look like they might be operating on you, but you are physically unable to move.
Old hag.
Yeah, old hag's the second one, where you have this old, decrepit, disgusting-looking woman.
Like from the Shining movie?
Kinda.
Kinda.
That's sitting on your chest, trying to kill you.
Yep.
A lot of times she's choking you to death. And this happens. Old hag syndrome is from, I believe, Germany is when it got its name, from like the 17th century.
And then it got brought over here when Germans came to America.
And the other one is shadow people. You see these beings, and there's all kinds of other ones. I'm just talking about the 3 big ones that a lot of people experience. You see these shadowy beings. They're just kind of looming over you, standing in the corner. You see them kind of walking sometimes. A lot of times they are more described in that situation as misty. Like there's mass to them. Not much, but there's something there.
Yeah, you can definitely see it.
So the big thing, a lot of people, one shadow person story I read, woke up, was having sleep paralysis. They looked over, and they seen the shadow person, and they were like, okay, I'm having sleep paralysis. And then they turned their head, and then they freaked out. The big thing with sleep paralysis is you cannot move. If you can move, you are not having sleep paralysis.
Yeah. Right.
And that's what freaked him out, is he like, okay, sleep paralysis, and he turned his head, and then he realized he turned his head. And so then he had an actual shadow person standing in his room. So that's the big thing. So if you hear a story of a shadow person, they can't move, 90% of the time that's sleep paralysis. It just it's not an uncommon disorder. It's not common. I think I should have pulled up statistics, but it's a significant number of people actually have experienced it several times in their life. I know you said Jay has had it twice.
Probably more, but like.
And some people don't experience the hallucinations with it.
Right. Yeah.
They just are there like, okay, I'm stuck in this.
I've definitely had that.
Yeah.
I think Dad's had it. I don't think I've ever had it.
My experience was like I woke up from sleep, awake, and then like when you wake up and you want to fall right back to sleep, and sometimes you can just go right back out. Well, I did that. I kind of fell like dozing back off of sleep, but then I remember. Then I was aware. I was like kind of conscious. Like, oh wait, I remember like hearing stuff. Like someone was walking up my stairs, and I remember hearing it. And I tried to open my eyes, but I couldn't open them. But then I remember being able to just see. I could see like into my room, and I could open my eyes. But I remember I couldn't lift my arms up. I couldn't, and I was trying to. I remember consciously trying to open my eyes, but it was almost like that. You could just see like through a little slit in your eyes, and I'm trying real hard, and I didn't like realize what was going on. And then I remember hearing footsteps coming up my stairs, and I wanted to look over and say, "Hey, who's coming up? Who's coming up?" But I couldn't do it. And then I was aware of myself trying to wake up, trying to move, and realized I couldn't move. Didn't know what was going on. And then it was like you just kind of. The one time I like snapped out of it, I actually woke up and I sat up. And I was really dizzy, like really lightheaded. It was weird, and then I was awake and I started to move around, started looking around, could lift my arms up, but then there was nothing, no noises, nothing was going on. But I've definitely had that experience where it's almost like your eyes are closed, but you can see through your eyelids. Yeah. That's the best way to describe it.
You don't have it commonly, do you?
I used to. Like it used to be like a.
Did you ever go to the doctor?
No.
Okay.
Because I never knew it was it. I never knew it was like a thing.
Anybody at home, if you have, so every once in a while is one thing. Like a lot of people that kind of have it twice in 20 years, or they don't.
Oh yeah, more. It used to be a lot more common than that for me.
If you have it really commonly, you need to go to the doctor because you may have, okay, I just had the word, neuroplasia. I'm not a doctor. But it comes with high stress, alcohol consumption. So these are things that can exaggerate.
Induce,
high stress, excessive alcohol consumption, sleep deprivation, and neurocoloscopy. I can't. Look it up.
Oh, boy.
Go to the doctor.
Yeah.
If you have constant episodes, go to the doctor, a sleep specialist. Because, you may, I guess, found a good disease, apparently.
If you do have sleep paralysis and you do realize that you have sleep paralysis, I will give this little statement. Try to focus on breathing and try to move your pinky. Try to move a finger.
Yeah, that's what it was talking about. Pick something small.
And as soon as you can move it,
your body will unlock.
You'll unlock and you'll be fine.
Okay. If you're freaking out, you're spending all,
Yeah.
You can't move,
Because you can't breathe.
Right.
I know for me, if I do wake up and have that, I've had it probably about 5 times in my life, give or take. And it's almost like a crushing weight. And
the old hag syndrome. It feels like you're being choked to death.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
wind getting knocked out of you.
You can breathe,
Yeah.
you can move, and then you're sitting there wondering what the heck happened.
The old hag tried to kill you.
Yeah.
And then there's the other part of sleep paralysis is that it's induced by these beings. That the beings are real. Some people claim that. I personally am not in that boat.
Yeah.
You think it's more the other way around?
I think that you have beings, you have thoughts in your, in your zeitgeist of your mind.
Like you create the beings.
Yeah. It's just what, if you know what a shadow person is, you're going to see. If you have sleep paralysis, then you're going to see shadow people. Aliens, that's why aliens is number one. Alien abductions and because everybody in the U.S. knows about that. Now you're frozen and your brain's just like, what's the worst thing that could be happening right now?
You get a probe up your butt or something.
And so now it's like,
and
that's what's happening.
And you're almost like predisposed to, because you already have the thought of shadow people, aliens, something like that, or in your brain. Well, then it has to be that.
Right, yeah.
Your brain goes to that. That's just what you're...
And personally, I think 90% of all paranormal, and I'm not saying everything paranormal, but I think 90% is just the brain.
Yeah, I think a big chunk of it is our brain just trying to make of a weird situation.
Yeah.
That and your brain makes it paranormal because it's the easiest.
It's the easiest.
Yeah, your brain
solution.
Your brain lies to you. I'll give you guys an experiment to do when you go driving sometime. So next time you go driving and you see ducks or geese on a pond, your brain automatically tells you all the geese are Canadian geese and all the ducks are mallards. Stop and look, because you already looked, and your brain had painted all the ducks and all the geese the same color. When you stop and look, there are about 30 species of duck in Ohio. And when you stop and really look, you're like, there's hooded McGanthers in there. There's all kinds of stuff that your brain, all kinds of different colors. It's not like they're all the same color. Your brain just really quick painted over it because it was the fastest thing. Like, they're all mallards. Don't look. But then you really look and you're like, there's not a mallard over there.
Yeah.
And so, mallards are the most common duck in Ohio, but it's just, there are a lot of other ducks.
Well, it's the most recognizable duck.
Yeah, it's the duck.
Yeah.
That and the pekin, but that's the commercial duck.
And Howard
the duck.
Yeah.
Anaheim Ducks. We are the Ducks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that the
lot of ducks.
Yeah.
This became an episode about ducks out of nowhere.
The Mighty Ducks.
Donald.
Yeah. Donald. Daffy. We're hitting all of them.
So there are a few similar entities. The Hatman's one.
And more recent, ain't
he? I think.
Just like the Slender Man.
Yeah. I don't think he's as recent as that.
Oh, really?
Without doing
I know the Slender Man was
active research, I think there's Hatman all the way back into the 70s.
Probably. And then Slender Man was internet, 4chan, all that stuff.
Yeah. The internet stuff, like Not Deer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the Hatman was seen, I believe, in at least the 70s. It may be earlier than that. But it's basically a shadow person wearing a fedora-style hat or some kind of rimmed hat
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I've heard top hat.
I've heard top hat a couple times. Fedora style is a bowler cap.
Mm-hmm.
The old style.
Right. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that a couple times. It's something with the brim all the way around it.
Okay.
Because people, that's what they can see. They just, without the brim, you really can't tell they're wearing a hat.
Right. Right. Yep.
Now we're going to get into our thoughts and what we think these things are. So I have a couple things written down of most common thoughts of what these things are. Demons or active spirits, and that's just how your brain processes them.
Mm-hmm.
Parallel dimension, we're parallel dimensional beings, or interdimensional travelers, and they are not fully here, and that's how your brain perceives them. In the government, there's a lot of stories that these entities are cloaking technology, and our government's just screwing with us.
So it's kind of like Man in Black kind of deal, or no?
Can be. It's more just like the government's playing out. You ever heard of the Glimmer Man? That's kind of a new one too. Newer, but it's anyways, the Glimmer Man. A lot of people believe that's actually a government test of some kind of cloaking technology. And when you see them, you can tell something's there, but you can't see it. It's kind of like you can tell there's light refraction.
Refraction.
Yeah, whatever. Going on.
Yeah.
But you can't,
You can't see.
So some people believe that the shadows are the first type of thing they built for this technology.
Like the prototype or something like that. Okay.
And because if you can't go invisible at night, if you're black, like that, and you're not being picked up on any kind of sensors or cameras and stuff like that, that's just as good. And now we have the Glimmer Man, which is the new. All right, so let's go with our guest first. What do you really think these things are?
All right, so I've got two thoughts. One is it is a remnant. Basically, it is residual. It's past repeating itself, and it's on a set specific course. And you just happen to be there at the right time, the right minute, the right light coming in, right humidity, whatever you want to call it, just to happen to see that happen. And because 90% of them are, for lack of better terms, they're benign. They do not interact. They just watch or stand or move or something like that. Then you get into the second thought, and the second theory is, for me, it's more of a, not necessarily malevolent, but it's more intelligent. It's
conscious, maybe?
Conscious. It's maybe parallel universe, maybe something else. I wouldn't say government. I don't necessarily believe we have that technology available. If we did, the government's done a really good job of keeping it under covers.
That's their job.
That is their job. But you know how, and that's the thing with the government. Why, like, all this technology that we do have, why tell people about it? Like, the blackbirds and just all the stuff on
the black triangles were seen 20 years before the government's like, okay, they're real. Here's what it is. So, even if that's true,
And, like, just on the government thing, if they have all this technology that is advanced and stuff, why aren't they using any of it for good?
Well, and not to get too political.
Yeah.
Let's try to avoid that,
Yeah.
If they would have had it, we wouldn't have the situations that we have in Western Asia. And I'm just being
vague
because of political.
Right.
I think there would be a lot different of a universe or a lot different of a world if we had that technology to where, say, hey, I can be invisible and take something or do something that needs to be done. And
so have you ever seen the technology we have now for the make ships disappear?
No, I have not.
So we actually have this type. I can't remember. I'll have to look into it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, it's known now. We have this technology. It makes ships look like they're a lot farther away.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody shooting at them misses them.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it makes the image of the ship look smaller.
Mm.
So sighters think the ship's X yards away when it's closer.
Mm-hmm.
So they're firing way past where the ship's at.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
But and then like the Manhattan Project, that's what they claimed happened with that is trying to make a ship go invisible.
No, not Manhattan Project. That was the atomic bomb.
The
Philadelphia
Project.
Yeah,
experiment.
Philadelphia project.
Sorry,
Yeah.
the Philadelphia experiment. That is correct.
And who worked on that? Do you remember? The two scientists, the main scientists that worked on that?
Einstein was a part of it.
Einstein and Tesla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tesla died without a nickel in his pocket and said we live to see man-made horrors beyond our comprehension.
Oh yeah.
The government. That's a whole episode. Is Tesla.
Yeah. Very interesting. I like Tesla. I like a lot of that stuff.
A man that kept getting screwed and just kept being like oh well.
You guys should have an episode of government conspiracies.
That's not an episode. That's a different podcast. No, we will get into some of them, especially with Jay.
Oh yeah.
Jay is, don't trust the government. Nobody trusts it.
No.
The government. I mean, that's their career is lying to us. Jay, so I am. There is stuff I think the government hides from us. There is stuff that the government does against its people. The
You
U.S.
mean
government
everything?
has done experiments on its own people several times.
Look at the Tuskegee.
Do you think they've stopped?
No.
I mean, never mind. Better not talk about what's going on today's climate right now.
Yeah.
No.
But
With experiments. And...
Yeah, let's not do that because that'll get us shut down very fast. Yeah. We just had the biggest growth day, and then we do have the biggest reverse if you say something else.
I'm just talking about,
we're good.
The taxes.
Taxes. Yeah. But, all right, Jay, what do you think?
Well, I always thought, speaking of like what Tesla said was, we're all energy and vibration. Everything that exists is energy.
That was the other one.
Frequency and vibration is what it was.
Yeah.
And then energy cannot be created or destroyed and things like that and whatnot. So what I always thought, like with shadow people is, and it seems like sometimes they interact with people like physically, like you, that you said they touched your shoulder, they poked you and stuff like that. But other times they don't actually touch you or do anything physical, but they make their presence known, and that will elicit an emotion out of you, whether it's fear, whether it's whatever it is, anxiety, anything. And I think I've kind of think that in some cases it can be where they do these things because they are, let's just say they're kind of trapped in this space. And I do believe, like what you said, Kyle, about how some things just kind of repeat, like they're just like on a loop. Yep, and
There's
just
a lot of hauntings like that. It's
Yeah.
just a scene or a couple scenes. A lot of war battlefields are like that.
Gettysburg.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a scar.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's I don't think there's any consciousness there.
No.
But it
It's
was
just
so
like
horrid.
Yeah,
So much energy exchanged.
and it's just burnt into time right
Yeah,
there.
it's like a photo.
Yeah, there you go.
Or a little, just a little moving photo.
And we don't know how the universe works. We really don't.
We don't know how this
Everything's
planet
theory. Exactly.
We're
So-
just ants in the universe. I mean, we're less than ants. We're bacteria.
We're one guppy in the ocean.
or it can be, and the universe was made for us. Who knows?
Yeah, and that's a God talk. And
Yeah.
I can see both trains. Being a Christian, I can see both trains of thought that we are so special that the whole universe was. We are the only things here, or
We're here to experience it along with other intelligent life and consciousness or whatnot. But anyways, with these shadow people being there, I think they kind of elicit these emotions out of you because your emotions are like a really high form of energy, and they might be doing this to remain existing. It's like almost like they
feeding.
Yeah, like they're feeding. Like they might scare you.
People think ghosts do that too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just what
Like they'll scare you to
energy.
raise your emotion, your energy, and then that gives them energy to still continue to exist and stay. Because maybe they're stuck here and they don't want to go. They don't know how to go. That's their only way they know how to exist, I guess, or to stay existing.
So I guess how I fall on it is that every shadow person could be completely different.
Agreed.
I don't think me and Kyle seen the same entity.
Yeah, and I never heard of a
Uh,
shadow animal. I guess.
I'm gonna say they're very rare because I don't think I have either.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying it doesn't happen. I'm sure everything has happened ever. But
And I thought of this, not to cut you off or anything.
oh my gosh,
With the
every episode.
Yeah, I know. Well, this happens. With the animal thing, do you think anything about like shape shifting and like old Native American stories like shapeshifters and stuff like that?
Wendigos and stuff like that.
Yeah, or like I've heard of people shape shifting into giant cats and stuff. Moving around.
Yeah, I think so, but
Not what you've seen.
Well, not. I don't think it's the culture that was here in Hardin County, and I'm just saying specifically Hardin County. The Wyandots, the Shawnee. To the best of my knowledge, which is limited. I don't think they have that specifically shapeshifter, Wendigo, skinwalker.
I don't think
stories.
That's more Western.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
more
It's Western, Northern.
Yeah.
If you want, Wendigos are. I'm not even gonna pretend I know the tribes,
Yeah.
but
Potawatomi.
I don't know, maybe. But no, yeah, Wendigo is a lot of the northern tribes, and it's a taboo spirit.
Mm.
You gotta do something, or a curse. Wendigos are not voluntary in their creation.
Mm.
Skinwalkers are voluntary.
Mm. They're almost like a golem. Wendigos are.
Yeah, it's you become that because of what you've done, and you are a slave to that spirit, that curse now.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you can, I think, the only way you can end it is if somebody else takes that spirit.
Oh, sidetrack real quick. The story that you guys had about the dogman and the gentleman, the Defiance dogman,
Mm-hmm.
how he had the coins. I had a thought about that. The
London.
coins.
The London.
Well, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I haven't even got my thoughts out because somebody cut me off.
Yeah. All right, back to where we were.
I think they can all be different. The parallel, I think it's just how your brain is getting so much information it doesn't know how to process.
Mm-hmm.
So it just creates this void image.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally your brain being like, there's something paranormal or supernatural happening, and that's out of my wheelhouse. Here you go. There's something there. Your brain's like, okay, there's danger, or there's something new.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is, but here's the thing, and here's where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just letting you know that, like, hey, I think the thing I seen was demonic. I got that feeling from it. I felt terrified, horrible, and we had it every time, it was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I get the demonic. I don't believe in ghosts in the traditional sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it was a ghost, obviously, because I don't believe in human souls staying around.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that ghost stuff isn't. It's hard to explain. That's a whole other thing. Ghost. I believe people see ghosts and things are haunted. I don't think they're people's spirits.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the tip. That's that.
Like still conscious human spirits.
Yeah, I don't think they're people.
Mm-hmm.
Ghosts aren't people. Ghosts are either scars, demons, or something else.
Yeah, like
parallel dimension. I can see that because some of the stories are like people, not even like fully interacting with these things. Like both things are kind of looking at each other like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
So some of the theories is that's the veil's very thin.
Mm-hmm.
So they are seeing you in that exact same way. So that's why they're kind of
scoping.
What is that?
Yeah,
they're leaning in, they're looking. Because a lot of times it's like I've even heard stories of shadow people waving.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of them though are like people are chased by them. People have been ran down by them, and when they get too tired, the shadow people run right past them. So it's like that they weren't even interacting.
Yeah.
Even though the person thought they were, the shadow person was just running too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, repeat in time. It's something. It's a relic.
Mm-hmm.
It's just. I think they're all, and they could be the government.
Mm-hmm.
The government does all kinds.
Yeah, never rule out the government.
I think the Glimmerman stuff, and we can talk about Glimmerman a different episode, but I think that's government for sure because it just sounds government. It's just like it's in people's houses, and then
and government.
It's scared of guns. I'll tell you that.
Because
there's a couple stories of people pointing guns at him, be like, "I know what you are," and you gotta leave, and then it backs out and slams the door. So they're not bulletproof. I
Well,
tell
I
you,
mean-
a dogman's had a lot of guns pointed at him, and then other times they're like, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thoughts. I think the one I seen was definitely demonic with the
Mhm.
others' activity in the house and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I can see a ghost-like thing,
Mhm.
presenting itself like that. I can see all the main things being true. I just think that's how your brain, with high, or with something like that, and no extra information,
Mhm.
it's just like, okay, this could be life-threatening to us.
Mm-hmm.
Because parts of your brain act like you're two things.
Yeah.
The front part makes the decision, the back part's the animal part, and like, all right, there's this thing here, we got to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the information I have.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
what
then
do you?
It fills in the blanks.
Yeah, it just is like I don't have the information to fill in the blanks right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what this is. It's there though. We need a reaction now,
Mm-hmm.
and then you do what you're gonna do. So I think mine was demonic. I could see them all.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a lot of hauntings.
Mm-hmm.
They have a shadowy entity.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I think 90% of hauntings in general, it goes like back to the stone tape theory, which is basically it's just a set time, set place that just is burned.
The
right into
snapshot,
yeah,
yeah.
a snapshot.
Mm-hmm.
I think any ghost that does its own thing repeatedly is that.
Yeah. Now, if there's something
If they're
intelligent,
interacting or they're throwing stuff,
Moving stuff, yeah.
then it's something completely different.
I think that's all demonic.
Yeah.
I don't think people's souls. I just don't think
Mm-hmm.
people's souls stick around.
Mm-hmm.
Or and it could be organic, and that'll be a different episode.
You ever seen the movie Ghost?
Yeah, I don't think they're making pottery.
No, not that, but he stuck around to fulfill his duty,
I forgot that all movies
protect his wife,
are canon.
Well,
in one way or another.
I think I think either you go one of two places. I know Catholics it's one of three, but for a lot of Christians it's one of two places. Now, if you did not go on and you're here, I think eventually you will go insane.
Yeah.
With that, you know what I mean? And then that will be your intelligent haunting or
Mhm.
something like that, possibly.
And I've heard stories of mediums and stuff talking about how people do get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard stories about how it's been people's job to help spirits move on to the next,
Right.
whether to ascend or wherever they're meant to go,
Yeah.
and help them get to that point. And
Right.
I've heard it's been successful. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've never experienced it, but I don't know how to explain that the best way.
I mean, and you look at like Eastern religions,
Mhm.
reincarnation.
This episode
It's
got way off track.
Yeah, it's what podcasts are all about. I hope you are entertained.
We'll have to take a break here in a second. We were recording a long time. Because I can only, everybody at home, one way I take breaks is I can only record so many minutes in a row with the interface we're using.
Yeah, with our tech that we have.
So I gotta splice all these little segments together, and I got about 15 red flags on my screen right now,
Okay.
being like, "Hey, you're near the end of this." But we will be we have 13 minutes, so we'll try to finish this out. I really want to thank you, Kyle, for being our first interview.
You're very welcome.
This has been great. I would
Yeah.
say we've talked for we've talked over an hour now. We still got more to talk about. I'm just kind of saying thank you.
Yeah.
So this concludes the shadow person part of the episode.
Yeah.
We're still going to talk. I'm just want everybody at home to know that this is derailed and we're now off script, which is fine. I just don't want people to be like, okay, they were talking about shadow people, and now we're talking about lizards in the mines.
Yeah, we're talking about lizard people. And
No, I do want to hear Kyle's comment about the gold or the silver coins, the jar of silver coins, with George.
Oh yes, George, the werewolf
yes.
man.
Yes. So, going back into the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
what did Judas? How was he paid for the betrayal of Jesus?
Silver coins.
Silver coins.
Wasn't it 13?
13 or 30, something like that.
What chapter of the Bible?
Don't quote me. It's either Matthew.
I have a Bible, guys, in my recording desk,
Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John.
Okay, there's only 3 chapters of the Bible. I gotta go.
Yeah, 4 chapters.
4 books. The phone's better for that.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking.
I was just curious at how many.
But I think...
Go on, sorry.
I think that was more of a deal with the devil kind of deal.
You get paid in silver?
You get paid in silver, because that's what Judas... He was paid with either 13 or... Alright, according to the Gospel of Matthew, Judas Iscariot was a disciple of Jesus. Before the Last Supper, he went to the chief priest and agreed to hand over Jesus in exchange for 30 silver coins.
30.
It was 30. I think that was more of a deal with the devil kind of deal, and you got paid 30 silver coins, because that's what Judas got paid for the portrayal of Jesus.
Right.
That's more of my thing, and that's why I think, like, werewolves and stuff like that, it's silver. It's, you touch silver, you burn. And I think... Don't get me wrong, vampires and that stuff too. Silver kills them.
I don't know with vampires. It's when you go through that kind of lore, you have to really filter out modern stuff for movies. Because I can't remember. I think it was werewolves that just destroyed I can't remember the Wolfman, the first actual Wolfman movie. He blatantly admitted that he's like, I created over half the lore.
Yeah.
Because we just couldn't find enough for the movie.
Yeah.
So I think that's actually where...
I mean, and you look back at...
silver comes from.
You look at a lot of the mythology, like vampires, werewolves, and stuff like that. That goes back centuries, thousands of years. I mean, a lot of that stuff comes back from Eastern Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's our culture.
Yeah. I mean, you look at, like, vampires in general, you know how they got the thought and the idea of vampires. Do you know?
Vlad the Impaler?
Vlad the Impaler, but... So, when you go to Turkey, like the country, not, Turkey's bird.
Yeah.
When you bury a body and there's no embalming or anything like that, you bloat. And you will have blood running down your face, and you will look like you have just ate and feasted.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, what they would do was, when they see that, they would drive a stake in the heart, and there'd be some audible gasp or anything, something like that. That was more of
air escaping,
gases escaping, but that turned into the vampires.
The lore.
The lore of vampires. And then when you get into Hollywood, and then Dracula, or I shouldn't say Dracula itself, but like Nosferatu,
right?
Yeah,
all that. Then you add the elements of what the lore is now for vampires.
So what is Judas's silver? Just the deal with the devil kind of thing?
Yeah,
with George.
Yeah, with George.
Yeah, that's why I was making sure I understood.
That was my thought anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it could be. I mean, that's what silver. Like you said, it has very religious connotations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gold does too. I mean, they're both precious metals that have been important for.
Mm-hmm.
That goes back to the
forever.
Sumerians and
because it's easy to work with. It's pretty and it's easy to work with.
And it's highly conductive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we have gold, platinum, and silver in all of our phones.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But any other final thoughts or anything? We have 7 minutes.
Well, we can talk about the weather.
No, that's okay. Once again, I want to thank you, Kyle, for being on here.
I'm glad you guys had me. I'm be happy to come back if you guys let me.
We're going to have you back.
We'll welcome you back anytime.
All right, guys. I've been Justin.
And I've been Jay.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're going to see you next week with a Bigfoot special, maybe a 2-parter. All right. Bye, guys.
Yay!